You can't just let everybody walk all over you. You must protect what he's entrusted. It's your responsibility to protect the castle, to protect the business. The way to glorify God, build something amazing that is defensible just by it being so good. Don't go spend time sharing the faith with people that have no interest in the faith.
My friend needs a job, and I think they would do a good job, but I'm not sure if the business would hurt my friendship. Should I hire him?
From my personal experience,
the first question from the comments is, how do I handle competition in a Christ-like manner?
It's great. First thing that comes to mind is, how did Christ operate with his enemies? Matthew 5:44 says, "But I say to you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despisefully use you and persecute you." So now I don't consider competition enemies. However, if we're supposed to love the people that despise us, how then should we treat our competition? So my perspective with competition is, man, they're out there just trying to build a successful business for themselves, right? They're not out trying to kill us or trying to demean us or really trying to take advantage of us. But in general, most competitors, they're out trying to get their own and trying to take care of themselves and take care of their families. And so my perspective is, if we are representing Christ, and we should be representing Christ by the way that we run our business, we should definitely represent him well by the way that we operate with competitors. So when I'm thinking of, so our mindset around competitors is everything. So I don't see them as an enemy. I see them as a person that is just on their own journey, providing for themselves. And so I see them that way, but I also know that I have an obligation to run a business successfully and profitably, right? God has put me as a steward of this business. So I'll share a story. I had an employee that I was looking to hire. I spent a lot of time letting him know before I hired him, during the interview process, hey, by the way, if you, I don't want to take any of the clients that you have from your current employer. Yes, I know that you could bring them to us, but I don't want to be that type of company that just goes and takes, you walk away and you take all their clients and bring them to our company. So I don't want to do that, because I don't want you doing that to me if you ever leave. And so we had multiple conversations around this, took him to lunch multiple times, and it was very clear. So about a year into employment with us, he leaves and takes our biggest client, our number one multi-million-dollar a year client. And man, I'm pissed. I'm so pissed. And so I went a little victim on it. And because I thought I had handled it properly. And so I had a conversation with one of my mentors, and he said, hey, it's your responsibility to protect the castle, to protect the business, to really make sure that you are a good steward of what God has entrusted to you. So you can't just let everybody walk all over you. You must protect what he's entrusted. Like, if God's put us in charge of a kingdom, do we just let the enemy come and rampage, right, and demolish the kingdom and rape and pillage everything? Nope. You put up walls, you protect, you have defenses, you have protection set up. And so from that conversation, I realized, hey, it's my responsibility to protect the kingdom. And so part of that is protecting it against competition. Now, you can protect against competition from attacking competition, or you can protect against competition by building something so great that competitors can't even compete with it. So I would say the way to glorify God, build something amazing that is defensible just by it being so good. That is a way that you can glorify God, through managing competition. So a couple of things you shouldn't do. You shouldn't slander competitors. You should never talk badly about competitors. I avoid all type of talk against negative talk against competitors. I let them do their thing. I'm aware of what they're doing, but man, I'm just focusing on my own organization and building that to make it great.
Awesome. Cool. How this is a funny question, I guess. So how should this gentleman handle some employee relations that are happening in his business as a Christian leader that he knows it's going on, that's not exactly on the up and up, like outside of work, but it's between two employees?
It depends on what the policy is in regard to the organization. So I don't think there's anything wrong with employees getting connected with each other and starting to build a relationship. So if a man and a woman want to go build a relationship and connect, fantastic. It's all good. And I want to make sure that it's not between, ideally, a manager and a direct report. That's where it can become an issue.
So
And
it's
some of the
it's frowned
lines-
upon if there's what if they're in a manager in a different department?
Then that's fine.
Really?
Yep, totally good with that. Right? I don't see an. I don't.
What if they're the COO?
Or
and they have
you spend so much time with people at the office, right? There can be a relationship built in it, especially if they're going to be there long term. Why not have somebody that you care about that you can kind of connect with if you're going to spend 8, 10, 12 hours a day working at an organization? Why not have your partner that's involved there? Just know there's a risk, right? If they ever get fired or have to let go, it may affect both people.
So God says not to show partiality in church, but is it okay to show partiality in business?
That's a great question. Yeah, I would say when it's talking about partiality in church, my understanding of that scripture is that we're not supposed to give more preference to people that have wealth versus someone that doesn't have wealth. People that could positively benefit us versus someone that could provide no benefit to us. So in church is one thing. Ministry, right? Ministry and church, that's one specific thing. And I believe it is important to show partiality in business. If there's one client that can afford your product and another client that can't afford your product, you choosing to spend time for a business purpose with the client that can afford your product for the purpose of sales in business would be effective. And so, yeah, I believe it's important to show partiality. It's important to show partiality with team members, right? To be aware of which team members you should be spending the most time with and developing the most, which team members don't have the skill or the desire to be excellent. If they don't have the desire to be excellent and they could care less about the organization, don't spend time with that person, right? Go spend time with the guy that really wants it, that really is desiring to level up, to be the best he can be, right? I talk about don't throw your pearls before swine, right? So what one take on that is don't go spend time sharing the faith with people that have no interest in the faith, right? Don't waste your time. Spend your time with people that actually have a desire. Like desire comes before someone comes to Christ. There's got to be some level, God gives them that desire. So if they have no desire, stop wasting your time trying to push Christianity, right? Go spend time with the people that just don't know or have a desire to know God, but don't know who to follow. So go spend time with those people. So I believe partiality is really important. And in church, we got to be really careful. And in life, not to just spend time in our personal lives with people that only benefit us, right? But in business, yeah, you got to be thoughtful with who you're spending time with and be partial with who you're spending time with.
Yeah, I think Jesus says, "What good is it if you only love people who love you back?" Even sinners do that.
Yep.
Okay, good. This is a good one. My friend needs a job, and I think they would do a good job, but I'm not sure if the business would hurt my friendship. Should I hire him?
No. I am not. So there's a couple things to look at. If you're a startup, typically startups always hire their friends and family. That's the way they get rolling. So startups are always hiring everybody they possibly can in the beginning because they don't have a budget. So once you have the ability to choose the talent wisely, typically it is not best to hire friends or family from my perspective. So from my personal experience, relationships can go south after a while, because what happens is there's a statement that familiarity breeds contempt. So I don't know if you're familiar with that statement. So familiarity breeds contempt. So what tends to happen is the more familiar somebody becomes with you, the more likely they are to hold contempt towards you. So it breeds it, especially in the work setting. So what happens is if you got a buddy that you guys are both on equal, you guys are both peers, You bring him into the organization where now he is levels below you. You are his boss. It completely changes the power dynamic of the relationship. And so what happens is that statement, familiarity breeds contempt, primarily means when you're making a friend out of somebody that you're working with. As you grow and invest and you're producing results, there's a possibility that person could become contentious as they're in relationship with you, and they see you producing the results and getting the rewards, but they're not getting those same rewards. But they're like, hey, I know this guy. Like, we're friends with this guy. Like, I'm just like him. Like, we're not that different. And then that's what breeds contempt. The closer you get with somebody, the more you start to see like, oh, they're not that much different from me. Then that'll breed contempt. So now thinking about friends, bringing friends into the business, you want to be thoughtful of the power dynamic that shifts when you bring a friend and now make him an employee of the company. And now you're giving him orders, you're giving him direction. It completely shifts the power dynamic, and it's usually not beneficial long-term for the relationship. There's usually, so stuff, because also what happens as the organization grows is that what happens if that team member is no longer the right fit? What happens if your friend's no longer the right fit for the role? What if he doesn't keep up? What if he thinks because you're friends, he doesn't have to put in the same amount of work and effort that everyone else does? What if he's not as hungry as the other employees because he's your buddy? Right. And so then all of a sudden he's not as valuable to the organization. But then when you let him go, it breaks the friendship. So I've seen so many friendships destroyed from partnerships and from bringing them in as an employee. Yeah. So I'd be very cautious about that. It can happen. It can be great. It can work. And most of the time it does not work long term. There's usually some break in the relationship. There'll be some issue that happens, some conflict that creates a break in the relationship.
So what I'm hearing is don't hire your friends.
Yeah, not ideally. Like, keep him a friend. Keep him a friend. Don't move into a boss-employee relationship unnecessarily. If you have to, sure. If you don't have to, keep the friendship going. It's the same. Yeah, it's the same thing with bringing on friends as clients. Like, it's just many times it cannot work. There's high risk. There's a lot of risk involved with that. So I care more about my friendships than I do about making more money. So I'll even if I could provide a great service to my friend, I'll try to send him somewhere else. Even if I have a great opportunity for a friend in my business, I'll find a way to not make it happen, because yes, I would love to have my friend here. I would love to have that role filled, but I care way more about the relationship than I do about having a role filled all day long. So relationships number one.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, let me shift a little bit. So, but on that point, if your buddy is really good and you're about to scale and you want to bring him in as a partner, right? Like somebody with equity or something like that, and you think it's a good fit, is that a good fit, or should you just get a partner from somewhere else? Not an employee, but a partner.
Yeah, I also don't agree in friendships as partners. It depends on how the relationship is. If there's any type of ego involved in the relationship, that could be consequential. There could be some consequences to that. And so what tends to happen in partnerships, at some point while the business is growing, there's a shift in the amount of work required for each role. And so as it shifts, maybe one person decides that he wants to be more family focused and the other person's working a lot. Resentment starts to creep in. Like, hey, dude, I'm doing all the work. Or maybe one partner is spending more of the money investing in the business and the other one's not. Like, so there's this dynamics that underpin these partnerships that usually many times it's high risk. Having a partnership where you're bringing in the friend as a partner is high risk, because over the course of 5 or 10 years, that business is going to change, evolve. What they're interested in is going to change. Their skill sets are going to change. Like, everything shifts. So for friends to be able to weather all those storms, I actually rarely see it happen. I usually see some break in the friendship at some point.
Well, last point on that question then is like, well, how else would you find in it? How do you find an investor? Right? Like, how do you meet investors if it's not like you got a friend, he's got the capital, he believes in your product, believes in your business, like, do you not let him invest in your business?
Now having an investor, so partner where they're working in the business is one thing. Having an investor is another.
So friends are okay as investors, you think?
I think friends are totally fine as investors, as long as it's clear, as long as the person Well, I've seen that go south so many times. I had a guy that was raising money for his company, brought a bunch of friends and family in. Company went under. None of them got paid. So how would you feel if you invested a big chunk of your money and then they went out of business and the friend said, sorry, man?
So can we flip it and say you're speaking to investors right now?
Yeah.
That potentially are thinking about investing with their friends.
Yeah.
Right. Would you say you should only invest money that you're okay with losing? Is that a rule?
Yeah, that you're okay with losing, and I would also, yes, big time. Well, yeah, the business investments are typically more speculative, especially in a startup. So you want to consider that money gone once you invest that money. So the way to lend money to a friend or a family member is, the best advice I ever got was, if you're going to lend money to a friend or a family member, consider that money gone. Like, don't even lend the money. Say, hey, you can have it. Best way to give money. Yeah, don't lend money to a family member. Just give it to them if you're going to give them money. Consider it gone. Consider it gone, because that could cause strife in the relationship if you're trying to collect for years or that person doesn't pay or they're late on payments. Just all that stuff. So yeah. So when you're going to give money, just consider it gone. Even if you do it as a loan, just consider the money gone, as if they're never going to pay it. That will keep the relationship.
Right. And that'll keep you from making an impulsive decision, right? Because you're like, I can't really afford to lose this.
Yep.
So
exactly.
Yeah. Don't ever give someone a book that you want to read again.
Exactly. Yeah. Same thing.
Cool. All right. I think that was great. So Skylar, thanks for answering those questions. And if you're out there listening and you have questions, you can tweet at Skylar Lewis CBM, or you can drop it in the comments on YouTube, or send them on Instagram, and we'll get them up on the show for you.